Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan. We got a lot of fun topics to talk about today. The Tokyo roster is set. Justin Steele will share his thoughts with us about his last performance before his first start, and I'll give you guys a couple of fun young prospects to check out during the upcoming seasons for the Cubs. Now, before we get into all that, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. Who do you think will be the biggest player for the Cubs this year? Who's going to be a surprise player? Biggest impact? Comment down below and let me know. But before we talk about those things, let's talk about our dear old friend Keegan Thompson. Keegan Thompson has unfortunately just had a rough go of it as a Cub. I mean, during the 21-22 season, he was one of our more dependable pitchers. But again, we were in a little bit more of a rebuilding process back then, right? He was one of our top young prospects in terms of pitching, and I thought he was pretty solid. Unfortunately, he did get hurt over the past few years and was just never really given the opportunity to truly bounce back and be that guy for us. And obviously, during that time, the Cubs pitching has upgraded immensely. We picked up the likes of Shota. We've acquired Jordan Wicks. We got Ben Brown. We got Javier Assad. Now that battle for the fifth starter role is completely different than it was a few years ago, and Keegan Thompson has been reprised to basically be a reliever and hasn't really gotten the chance to show off his best stuff. So I heard today on the radio, they were talking to Bruce Levive on 670 The Score, and he predicted that the Cubs might trade Keegan Thompson within a week or so, because honestly, it hasn't worked out for him here as a Cub, so maybe a fresh start for him. Cubs can maybe get some cash considerations or another young player. Because again, like we talked about, the Cubs are coming up on that bubble, right? Where Cubs players are running out of options. We got a lot of good quality players at the big league level. And something's got to give in that sense. So maybe they can restart the timeline on another young pitcher. Keegan Thompson, unfortunately, it sounds like maybe his time here in Chicago will be coming to an end. I have been a fan personally of him. But again, the Cubs have just improved so much on the pitching front that it's kind of understandable that things like this do happen, unfortunately. Because as you can see, we're going to talk about the Cubs roster for Tokyo. And unfortunately, he didn't make the roster for Tokyo. Let's take a look at the Cubs full-on roster. These are all the pitchers, ladies and gentlemen, that the Cubs are bringing on over for the Tokyo series. You see Shota Imanaga and Justin Steele. Those are going to be our Game 1 and Game 2 starters against the Dodgers. Jamison Tyone and Matt Boyd are going to be those exhibition starters against the other Japanese NBL teams that you see out there. Jordan Wicks, Ben Brown, Colin Ray, those are going to be your longer relievers, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Jordan Wicks probably is not going to get a start in the sense. He's our only second left-hander in the bullpen, so the Cubs are going to want to use that flexibility in those games potentially for sure. But Jordan Wicks, Ben Brown, Colin Ray, like I've been saying, those are the guys you want to keep your eye on. They're going to be battling it out for that fifth spot. Ryan Presley is not guaranteed to be our closer, but kind of looks like he's going to be our closer. Porter Hodge, the setup man, etc. Caleb Thielbar, the only other left-hander available in that bullpen. Hoping to see the development of Nate Pearson as well. Tyson Miller was pretty solid for us as well. So Daniel Palencia's got great stuff. So excited to see this Cubs pitching staff and how they perform. Here are some of the other players on the offense. These are the position players. As you can see, Matt Shaw and Reese McGuire are non-roster invitees. They're just kind of like backup, essentially. Reese McGuire is like in case all heck breaks loose, in case all heck breaks loose player. And Matt Shaw might be getting a start at third potentially, so we got to keep an eye out for that one. On that front, Justin Turner, first base DH, providing that veteran presence for the Cubs. Cubs are going out there with four outfielders: Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki. I imagine that is the plan there. I think John Birdie has played some outfield as well. So maybe he could be like that fifth super in case of emergency guy. But these are the Chicago Cubs, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe in the next video or so, I'll give you guys a projected lineup that I'm thinking the Cubs should go with. But excited to see how this team plays out in the future. Next up on the docket is Justin Steele. Justin Steele opens up to us after that rough outing against the Brewers. Again, it's spring training, so not too much to worry about on my end here. I'm not totally concerned. If it consistently goes on during the regular season, then maybe I'll have a concern with it, and maybe there's something more lingering going on with that injury. But here are Justin's thoughts. He said, felt good with my four seam. Felt like I was moving around the plate pretty good. Honestly, they were just putting some good swings on the fastball. And sometimes you just got to tip your cap on some good swings made by some good players. Overall, I felt good with my pitches. And that's very fair, you know. Sometimes you're throwing and you feel like you got your best stuff, but it's baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Some days it's just not your day, and some days it's the offense's day. You really never know how it's going to go. So hopefully in Japan, they get that ship straightened out, and they can provide us a very, very good quality start on that front. I'm still excited for this Cubs pitching staff. The pitching staff hasn't looked perfect in spring training, but I imagine that they're going to be very, very solid going forward. And the Cubs last year were a top 5 pitching staff in the National League. Good enough to get us to the playoffs. Some very weird outside factors kind of prevented us from going to the playoffs. So I think the ship gets straightened this year, and they're going to be just fine. Moving on to our final subject, ladies and gentlemen, we do got some fun things to talk about here. Let's keep some of these names in the back of our head for the future. Now, I'm not talking this year. I'm not even talking next year. I'm talking 2 or 3 years down the road, okay? Here are a couple names I want you guys to keep an eye out for. Camp standout Alexi Lumbai, added to the Cubs in 2024, only signed for $90,000. He had a .931 OPS in the Dominican Summer League. He's only 20 years old. Just so young, so talented. He's going to get a lot of reps before he even comes to the big league level. Okay? A guy they just literally got last year. You never know. The Cubs have had a great system down there in the Dominican Summer League, developing a lot of young, talented players, and I expect to see him do very well. Breakout candidate Christian Hernandez, top prospect from the 2021 international class. He was an all-star last year in single A. He's only going to be 21 for all of 2025, which is crazy to think about. So young, so talented. He has such raw hitting potential. I've been hearing about Christian Hernandez for over 2 years now. I'm excited to see how he does as a Cub. And honestly, will he step up? Maybe he's our third baseman, right? Once Dansby, moves on, or, his contract expires, he takes over at shortstop. Either way, a couple of young, talented Cubs players to keep our eye out for this coming year. Like I've said before, ladies and gentlemen, the Cubs are getting to a standstill point, right? We got a lot of good quality veteran players, but we also got some young, talented players that need to come up and show us their stuff before, another Alexander Canario happens. I don't want that to happen, but it's getting kind of scary to that point where the Cubs might have to make some moves on these guys, cut the ties, or give them the chance to succeed. That's just how I feel about it, but either way, let me know your guys' thoughts. Which Cubs prospect do you think is going to be an absolutely big-time impact player for the Cubs this year or the next year? Totally up to you. Let me know in the comment section down below. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, I've had an absolute blast talking with you. I do apologize. I'm getting over a sickness, but we'll be back tomorrow with another video. Peace!